Now, writing at Crooked Media, which is a website, one of the writers here, Brian Butler, he offers an idea of how Democrats might adopt a counteroffensive against this Christian fascist bullshit. He points out that today's vaccine denial and making heroes of these insurrectionists carry serious echoes of the Tea Party during the Barack Obama presidency. Remember that swine, those scum? And if you remember, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, in 2010, protesters from this Tea Party gang of halfwits confronted Democratic lawmakers with all kinds of ugly slurs, and the Christian fascists at the time told endless lies about death panels. Remember that? That Obamacare was going to have death panels. That was that crazy bitch from, Wisconsin? What was her name? You know who I'm talking about. Who insisted that at a certain point, if you were ill, one of Obamacare's death panels would come and say, okay, this one dies. Michelle Bachmann, remember her? Oh. Now, in 2014, the then Republican Party that was in the process of dying and being replaced by the Christian fascists, they went all in on the lie that Obama would allow terrorists to import Ebola across our border. Remember that? We were going to have Ebola flooding into the country over the southern border. This madness that is going on is not necessarily new, but it has become even more insane. I'm sure there are degrees of insanity, you know, from, I don't know, being bipolar to being totally schizophrenic, to being totally paranoid schizophrenic, to become totally dangerously paranoid schizophrenic, where you want to stab shit and kill people. That's what the Christian Fascist Party has arrived at. And when all this stuff was going on, and people like your humble and obedient servant here, and so many people at the time who were on Air America, who were working independently in progressive media, we screamed and yelled about this. But these Republicans who were screaming this shit were in no way penalized by their peers, by the Democratic Party. So instead, the Republicans won two smashing midterm victories in 2010 against Obama and in 2014 against Obama. And nobody fought back. And the voices that were trying to point this shit out were marginalized, like the voice of this podcast. And it's just, I don't understand what motivates the Democratic Party to let this shit go unanswered. And by unanswered, I mean screamingly answered. So anyway, something very similar is happening now in 2021. These Christian fascist elected officials are not openly or overtly encouraging people to not get vaccinated or support the insurrectionists. But you have these crazy bitches like Georgia's Q bitch, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then the psychopath from Colorado, Lauren Boebert, who can describe officials hoping to encourage vaccinations as needle Nazis. Needle Nazis. And nobody in the Republican Party The Christian Fascist Party pushes back on that. Nobody says a word. The Democrats now will howl and make funny noises, but they're not confronting these issues to the degree necessary. The Democrats are. The Republicans, the Republican office holders, they're not going to say shit because they're terrified of this imaginary shithole called the base. The base. I mean, it's like an open hell portal, I guess, where if they piss off the base, some kind of creatures will come flying out of the hell portal and devour them and replace them with someone who challenges them in a primary. We even have a new verb, being primaried. Oh, my God. So it's very clear, is it not, that aside from their ultimate goal of the destruction of democracy, the Christian fascists are happy to encourage and profit from this kind of madness at the grassroots level, even when it endangers American lives. Christian fascists don't give a shit about American lives. They don't care about the living. Oh, my God. They care about fetuses, and that's only bullshit. They don't give a rat's ass about fetuses, but it's a way of controlling women. And they care about your using threats and bullshit about when you're dead. But when you're alive, I don't know. What is there? What is the Christian fascist theory about being alive? Is it praying until drops of blood appear on your forehead? I mean, what is it? And in the middle of all this, at the CPAC, the Orange Vomit was trying to make a martyr of Ashley Babbitt, the woman who was brainwashed to the degree that she allowed herself to be. I don't believe people can be totally brainwashed. You've got to be a willing victim to listen to bullshit and absorb it. If I believed in brainwashing, I would say every single Republican voter today is brainwashed because they're voting for fascism. They're voting for a kind of Christianity that is poisonous, death, destruction, vile, satanic. But Ashley Babbitt was one of those people who bought into the QAnon horseshit. She thought that voices were telling her to go to Washington, and now she's dead because she was a rioter. She was attacking the seat of democracy. They didn't single her out. The police who shot into that crowd of maddened, sick dogs, these screaming, raving maniacs. And now this filthy Donald Trump is trying to make her into a martyr whose penumbra he can stand in and cover himself with the martyrdom of Ashley Babbitt. This putrid son of a bitch Trump has no limit to how he will use and abuse people for himself, dead or alive. He is truly a vampire, truly a zombie, a maniac. And then other Republicans are actively downplaying what occurred on January 6th with the lie that Trump's loss was illegitimate. And that encourages the bullshit that the rioters were motivated by some core righteous anger over Trump's victimization. And Trump did it again over the weekend at CPAC. That's all this rotten son of a bitch knows. And I saw some video of people sitting in the audience with their little red hats on, applauding this swine. My God. Some ideas about how the Democrats can fight back against these Christian maniacs. My God. who are hell-bent on destroying democracy. That look, you have to understand, and I'm reasonably sure you do understand that is absolutely the goal of the Christian fascists, is to destroy America, our institutions, our rule of law, as misused as it has been for 245 years. But the principles, the ideas are still in the documents. It's still something to work toward for the benefit of every citizen of this country. And this is what the Christian fascists want to destroy. They want to stab it to death. They want to replace it with a kind of Christian insanity that is dictatorial from top to bottom. They want submission, no argument, no resistance. Good God. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.